The call came in at 11:30 at night, breaking the quiet of my living room. When I answered, I heard my grandson's voice shaking with fear. "Grandpa, please come. Stepmom hit me. Dad says I'm lying." That single sentence tore through every belief I had ever held about my family. I am 71 years old, built a contracting business with nothing but determination and calloused hands, raised my boy on my own, and always thought I understood loyalty. But as I sped through the empty streets of Phoenix that night, driving to protect an 11-year-old child, I started to realize how quickly a son can turn into a stranger and how a daughter-in-law can turn into a threat. By the time I pulled up to the Midtown precinct on East Hayden Avenue, I believed the worst part was already behind us. I could not have been more mistaken. Tyler's call had come while I was finishing up quarterly earnings reports at home. He is 11, and the fear in his voice cut straight through me. "Grandpa, she hit me. Dad does not believe me. Please, I need you to come to the police station." "I am on my way, buddy. Stay right where you are." "Grandpa, thank you for believing me." Those words stayed with me during the 20-minute drive. A child should never feel grateful just for being believed, yet Tyler had already learned that telling the truth does not always get you protection, especially when pride and money get tangled up in the adults handling the situation. On the drive over, I called my son, Andrew. "Dad, do not come," he said the moment he answered. "Tyler is upset about a discipline issue. Melissa was trying to help him with his homework, and he got dramatic. You know how he exaggerates things. Your son has never lied to me, have you?" His silence told me everything I needed to know. The station looked as bleak inside as it did from the street, all concrete walls and buzzing fluorescent lights that made everything feel colder. Tyler sat hunched on a bench beside a woman officer with a warm expression. The second he saw me, he jumped up and ran into my arms. I had not seen him move that fast since last Christmas morning. "Grandpa, you came." The officer approached with a clipboard. Her name tag read, "Officer Daniels." "Mr. Carter, I am glad you made it. Tyler called you instead of his parents. His father thinks he is lying." "About this?" She held up her phone and showed me several photos. Tyler's left cheek had a clear red handprint. His lower lip was split open. 3 separate bruises wrapped around his upper arm, in a pattern that looked exactly like someone's grip. With a lifetime of construction work behind me, I know how to read marks and impact injuries. This was not firm parenting. This was an assault. "Where is Melissa now?" I asked. "At home with your son. They are trying to work through the situation." I crouched down so I was eye to eye with Tyler. "Tell me exactly what happened." "She got mad at me because I messed up my math homework," he said quietly. "She said I was stupid, like Dad used to be when he was a kid. I told her that was not nice, and she grabbed my arm and slapped me hard. When Dad got home, I tried to tell him, but Melissa said I was lying just to get attention." "And your father believed her?" Tyler's eyes filled with tears that he fought back, trying his best not to cry. "He said I needed to stop making up stories to get people in trouble." Officer Daniels handed me a business card. "Child Protective Services will want to speak with Tyler tomorrow morning. Caseworker Rebecca Nolan will conduct the interview. File number AZ 2025-1147. Tyler squeezed my hand. "Grandpa, can I stay with you tonight, please?" Looking at that bruised, frightened child, the decision was simple. It was the first choice that would change the course of everything that followed. "Yes. Tyler, if anything like this ever happens again, you call me first." What I did not know was that Melissa had already begun her next move. The drive back to my house on Willow Ridge Road took about 15 minutes. Tyler sat quietly in the back seat, touching his swollen lip now and then. I had installed a booster seat years ago for weekend visits, but tonight it felt less like a convenience and more like part of the protection he needed. "Grandpa, am I in trouble?" he asked. "No, buddy. You did exactly what you should have done." "Then why does Dad think I am bad?" How do you explain to an 11-year-old that adults sometimes take the easy way out instead of the honest one? That his father had turned into someone I barely recognized? Halfway home, my phone buzzed. Andrew again. "Dad, you cannot just take Tyler without talking to us." "Us?" "Melissa and me. We are his family." "Andrew, your son has a split lip and bruises shaped like fingers." "Kids bruise easily. Melissa is a certified nursing assistant, Dad. She knows how to take care of kids. Tyler has been acting out ever since you started spoiling him with all those expensive gifts." "Expensive gifts." Last month, I bought Tyler a simple emergency cell phone. Apparently, teaching a child how to ask for help counted as spoiling now. Bring him home tonight, Dad. No, I said plainly. No? His voice shot up an octave. You cannot make decisions about my son without me. Watch me, I said, and ended the call. Tyler must have overheard my call with Andrew because I heard him whisper, Is Dad mad at me? Your father is confused right now, I told him calmly. What matters is that you are safe. Back at my house, I made him a mug of hot chocolate and set it on the same old oak kitchen table where I used to help Andrew with homework 3 decades earlier. I could not help wondering where that thoughtful, curious little boy had gone. Tyler, I said gently, I need to ask you something important. Has Melissa ever hurt you before tonight? He stared into his drink for a long moment. Sometimes she pinches me when Dad is not looking, or she grabs my arm really hard and tells me I better not cause trouble. But tonight was different. Different in what way? He swallowed. She looked happy when she hit me, like she wanted to do it. A cold heaviness settled over me. I had seen that expression in business from the worst kinds of people. Individuals who got pleasure from holding power over someone weaker. At 10:45 that night, my doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Andrew and Melissa standing on the porch. She hovered just behind him, with an expression of concern so carefully arranged it might as well have been painted on. I opened the door, but did not offer to let them in. Dad, this is getting ridiculous, Andrew said immediately. Tyler needs to come home. Melissa stepped forward with her hands clasped in front of her. Mr. Carter, I understand why you are upset. Children sometimes misunderstand adult discipline, especially when they are not used to proper structure. Structure? I repeated. She nodded professionally. Tyler has been struggling with behavioral issues, acting out at school, failing to complete assignments. I was trying to help him understand consequences. She spoke with the polished tone of a licensed counselor, calm, logical, full of the right buzzwords. If I had not seen the bruises with my own eyes, I might have bought the performance. And the marks on his face, his arm, I asked. Children bruise easily, particularly active boys, she replied smoothly. He fell off his bike yesterday. That is interesting, I said. He described them as hand-shaped bruises. For a split second, her expression slipped, just long enough to reveal irritation beneath the surface. Children have very active imaginations. Andrew nodded quickly. Exactly. Dad, Tyler has been watching too many detective shows with you. Andrew, I said, look at your son's face. I did, he insisted. Kids get hurt. It happens. In that moment, standing in my doorway, I realized the truth I had refused to accept. My son had turned into someone I barely recognized. The Andrew I raised would have never dismissed his child's fears so casually. Melissa had reshaped him piece by piece until he could not, or would not, see the truth. Tyler is staying here tonight, I told them. Dad, Andrew's shoulders slumped. This conversation is over. I closed the door firmly. As the latch clicked, I heard Melissa whisper something low and sharp to Andrew. His posture collapsed even further, like a man already defeated. But defeated by what? Or by whom? Tyler appeared beside me quietly. Grandpa, thank you. For what? For not making me go back tonight. The relief in his voice cut deeper than any bruise. Tyler was not just frightened of Melissa, he was terrified of being alone with her. I tucked him into the guest bedroom, the same room Andrew had used during college breaks. Tyler looked tiny against the oversized pillows. Grandpa, he whispered, what if Dad makes me go back? We will figure it out, I said gently. What if Melissa says I am lying again? I sat beside him on the bed. Tyler, sometimes adults choose what is easiest instead of what is true, but I need you to hear me clearly. When you tell me someone hurt you, I will believe you every single time. For the first time that night, he smiled a little. I know, that is why I called you instead of 911. After he fell asleep, I sat alone in the living room, going over every detail. The bruises, Melissa's polished script, Andrew's refusal to acknowledge his son's pain. All pieces of a puzzle, but the picture they formed was still unclear. Something about the situation felt deeper than a single night of abuse. It felt organized, intentional. Melissa had not just influenced my son, she had recruited him. Near midnight, my phone buzzed with a text from Andrew. Dad, You are making a mistake. Melissa is trying to help Tyler grow up to be a better kid. You are undermining our parenting. Our parenting. When had Andrew started speaking as though Melissa shared equal authority over every decision involving Tyler? I poured myself a small measure of bourbon and tried to organize my next steps. Contact Child Protective Services in the morning, of course. But something told me this would not be a straightforward case. Morning arrived with a knock on the door from Janet Nolan, the caseworker from CPS. A thin woman with weary eyes, she looked like someone who had seen far too many families in crisis. "Mr. Carter?" she asked. "I am here about Tyler. Where are his parents?" "At work, I assume. And you did not notify them that this interview was happening. His father believes he is lying about the abuse." Janet frowned at her paperwork. "That is extremely concerning. May I speak with Tyler privately?" I called Tyler downstairs. He looked more rested than I expected. Probably the first real sleep he had gotten in weeks. "Tyler, this is Ms. Nolan," I told him. "She is here to make sure you are safe." The interview lasted about 40 minutes. From behind my closed office door, I heard Tyler describing what happened the night before, then listing previous incidents one by one. He was calm, precise, careful with dates and details. Someone had taught him to be observant, maybe as a way to survive. When Janet finally stepped out, her expression left no room for misinterpretation. "Mr. Carter," she said quietly, "Tyler's account is thorough and consistent. His injuries support everything he described. However, I must interview both parents before I can recommend temporary custody." "And until then?" I asked. "Tyler can stay with you for now," Janet said, flipping through her forms. "But understand something, Mr. Carter. This arrangement is highly irregular. Typically, during an active investigation, we place children in licensed foster homes. He is not going to foster care," I said firmly. "That is not your decision to make." "Watch me make it," I replied. Janet studied me for several long seconds. "You are his grandfather, which gives you limited legal standing. But if his parents demand his return and I cannot establish immediate danger—" "What qualifies as immediate danger?" I asked. "Evidence of ongoing abuse, documentation that the violence is escalating, or medical records proving continued physical harm." My mind zeroed in on the last one. Medical records. "Janet, has Tyler seen a doctor recently?" She checked her tablet. "Not according to the school nurse's files. Why?" "Just something I needed to confirm." After she left, I went straight to the phone and called Tyler's pediatrician, Dr. Patricia Hayes. I had been listed as an emergency contact since the day Tyler was born. "Tom," she said warmly when she picked up, "it is good to hear your voice. How is Tyler doing?" "That is why I am calling. Has he had any appointments recently?" She hesitated. "Actually, yes. Melissa brought him in 3 separate times over the past 2 months. She reported behavioral issues, difficulty sleeping, hyperactivity, things like that." "Hyperactivity?" I repeated. "She asked about medication options," Dr. Hayes said. "She wanted me to consider prescribing ADHD medication or mild sedatives to help him focus or sleep better." A freezing, sickening sensation spread through my chest. "Did you prescribe anything?" "No, I ordered blood work first." She paused. "Tom, the results showed diphenhydramine in his system." "Benadryl?" "Yes, and in quantities that suggest regular dosing. When I questioned Melissa, she told me you were the one giving him allergy medication for seasonal symptoms." "I have never given Tyler any medication, not once." The line went quiet. "Tom," she finally said, "that is deeply concerning. Diphenhydramine at those levels can cause significant drowsiness, confusion, difficulty concentrating. In a child Tyler's age and size, continued use can mimic ADHD symptoms. Could it make him appear unstable to teachers or social workers? Absolutely. And if he is receiving it without proper supervision, that is a form of poisoning." My pulse hammered in my ears. I ended the call and immediately dialed my attorney, Grace Coleman, who had handled every major legal matter for my business over the last 15 years. She answered on the second ring. "Tom, what is you calling on a Saturday morning?" "Grace, I need my bank accounts frozen, all of them, business and personal." "What? Why?" "I believe someone has been stealing from me, and I need to protect Tyler." "Tyler? Andrew's boy? Tom, what is happening?" I told her everything, Tyler's injuries, the suspicious medications, Melissa's calculated attempts to portray Tyler as unstable. Grace listened until I finished. "Tom, this is not just child abuse," she said. "If someone is drugging Tyler to manufacture behavioral problems and siphoning off money at the same time, we are looking at a coordinated effort, a conspiracy. Can you freeze the accounts today? I will submit emergency filings within the hour. But, Tom, if Andrew is involved in any financial misconduct, this could destroy your relationship with your son permanently." I exhaled sharply. "Grace, my relationship with Andrew is already in pieces. Melissa did that long before today." "Are you absolutely certain Andrew is one of her victims and not one of her partners in this?" I had been avoiding that question since the night before, but she had every right to ask it. The Andrew I raised would never have allowed someone to hurt his child. But the Andrew who dismissed Tyler's injuries, I barely recognized that man. "Freeze everything," I said. "We can sort out the relationships later." After I hung up, Tyler appeared in my office doorway. "Grandpa," he said quietly, "Ms. Nolan said I might have to go home soon. Not if I have anything to say about it. What if Melissa tells Dad I'm lying again? What if he believes her?" I knelt so we were eye to eye. "Tyler, do you trust me?" "Yes, sir." "Then trust this. What Melissa did to you will never happen again." But even as I said the words, something inside me knew she would not back down easily. She would make her next move. On Monday morning, the call that changed everything came in. "Tom," my accountant, Russell Clark, said, sounding unsettled, "I am reviewing last quarter's reports and noticed several withdrawals from the Carter Contracting operating account." "What withdrawals?" "3 cash advances of $15,000 each, September 12th, October 8th, and November 15th, all signed off with your authorization code." My authorization code. Only 3 people knew it: me, Russell, and Andrew, who occasionally handled payroll issues on job sites. "Russell, I never approved those withdrawals." "Tom, the documents have your signature. Email them to me immediately." Within minutes, the scanned forms hit my inbox. The signature looked flawless. Too flawless. Someone had practiced until they could replicate it perfectly. I called Andrew at once. "Dad, I am at work," he said. "Can this wait?" $45,000 has been withdrawn from my business account without my permission. Silence. "Andrew," I said, "did you hear me?" "Dad, Look, I can explain." "Explain what?" I asked. "Explain that you have been stealing from me." "It is not stealing," Andrew insisted quickly. "It is my inheritance anyway. I was just accessing it early." My inheritance. I could barely process the words. "Andrew, you took money from the company that pays the wages of 12 families." "I had debts," he said, sounding defeated. "Melissa has been helping me manage everything, and she said—" "Melissa told you to take money from my accounts?" "She said you would never notice it, that we deserve some financial stability after everything we have done for Tyler." Everything they had done for Tyler, like drugging him, manipulating him, hitting him. My anger settled into something heavier. "Andrew," I said carefully, "what debts?" There was a long stretch of dead air. Then, quietly, "Dad, I have a gambling problem." "How long has this been going on?" "Since Melissa and I got married," he admitted. "She introduced me to online poker sites. She said it was an easy way to earn extra money. But I kept losing. Then I borrowed money to cover the losses, and then it snowballed. How much do you owe?" $280,000. I dropped into my chair like the wind had been knocked out of me. My son owed more money than some people earn in half a decade. "Andrew," I said slowly, "who do you owe this money to?" He swallowed audibly. "Some guys Melissa knew from her old job. They are not patient people. They want their money by December 1st or what?" I pressed. "Or they will hurt Tyler to send me a message." The room seemed to tilt. Suddenly all the scattered pieces clicked together, each one worse than the last. Melissa had not simply introduced Andrew to gambling. She had brought him into contact with dangerous men who would threaten a child without hesitation. She had chipped away at his judgment, his finances, his confidence as a parent, and his relationship with his own son, until he could not trust himself at all. But the question that now loomed was why. "Andrew," I said, "who is listed as the beneficiary on your life insurance?" "Melissa," he said instantly. "She is my wife." "And what about Tyler's?" Tyler does not have... He paused. Wait, Melissa set up a policy through her work. She said it would cover his education if something ever happened to us. How much is the policy? I think about $800,000. Melissa handles all the paperwork. $800,000. More than enough to wipe out Andrew's debt and leave Melissa comfortable. Dad, he said nervously, are you still there? Andrew, I need you to answer something honestly. Has Melissa ever suggested that I am getting too old to manage my own affairs? He hesitated. She mentioned that you seemed confused lately, forgetting things, making poor financial choices. What financial choices? Like spoiling Tyler, not understanding that he needs structure, interfering in our household decisions. Andrew, I asked calmly, do you believe any of that about me? I do not know what to believe anymore, Dad. Melissa says Stop. I cut him off sharply. Stop telling me what Melissa says. What do you think? There was a long exhale on the other end. I think I am scared. I think I have made terrible choices. I think these people she introduced me to are going to hurt my son if I do not pay them. And I do not know how to get that kind of money. Andrew, I am going to ask you one last question, and you must think before you answer. Has Melissa ever suggested a solution to your debt problem that involves something happening to me? The silence was so long, I thought the call had dropped. Dad? He whispered. Andrew, has she? He swallowed hard. She mentioned that if you had some kind of medical emergency, if you needed long-term care, we could access your accounts to cover the expenses, and maybe some of those funds could help with my debts. A medical emergency? I repeated. Did she say anything else? She said, at your age, things happen, especially to people who live alone and do not take their medications properly. My blood pressure medication. Melissa would know exactly what an overdose looked like and how to make it seem accidental. Andrew, I said, listen carefully. Do not go home tonight. Do not tell Melissa anything we have discussed. Take Tyler and meet me at Grace Coleman's office at 4 o'clock. Dad, I cannot just... Your wife is planning to kill me, I said bluntly, and she is using your son as leverage to force your compliance. You can keep letting her destroy your life, or you can help me protect Tyler and yourself. I am scared, he said, his voice cracking. For the first time in months, he sounded like the boy I had raised. I know, I told him gently, but we are going to fix this. He was no longer Melissa's pawn. He was finally choosing which side he stood on. Grace Coleman's law office sat on the third floor of a downtown Phoenix high-rise. I had been there countless times for business contracts and estate planning, but never for something as personal as this. Andrew arrived first, looking exhausted and beaten down. Tyler came with him, confused but relieved to see me. Grandpa, he said, Dad said we are having a family meeting. Something like that, buddy. Grace ushered us into a conference room where she had already set out legal pads and recording equipment. Tom, she said, closing the door behind us, let us get started. Grace spread several documents across the conference table. Tom, I have gone through the bank statements you sent. The signatures on those withdrawal forms are sophisticated, but they are forgeries, no question about it. I filed for an emergency freeze on every one of your accounts. The court approved it at 2 o'clock this afternoon under order number 4455123. Andrew winced as though the words physically hit him. Dad, you froze the accounts? Every single one Crystal has been siphoning money from, Grace said before I could answer. But that is only part of the problem. I started running background checks on her early this morning. Her employment history is unusual. She opened a manila folder thick with printouts. Melissa Ann Reyes, that was her name before she married you, Grace said, tapping the first page. She worked as a Child Protective Services investigator in Austin for nearly 3 years. She was terminated for falsifying reports. I leaned forward. Falsifying in what way? She fabricated abuse cases or exaggerated minor issues so she could justify removing children from their homes. Then she would refer those children to specific foster families. Those foster parents later admitted they were paying her kickbacks. Andrew's skin went pale. She never told me anything about that. It gets worse, Grace continued. After CPS fired her, she moved to Houston and worked as an in-home caregiver for elderly clients. 2 of her clients died under what authorities labeled uncertain circumstances. No criminal charges were filed, but in both cases, life insurance payouts went to the client's adult children, the same children who hired Melissa based on her own recommendations. Across the table, Tyler looked up from the coloring book I had given him. "Grandpa, what are you guys talking about?" "Just adult stuff, buddy," I said. "Keep coloring for me." Grace lowered her voice again. "Tom, I believe Melissa targeted your family. Andrew's gambling addiction gave her the perfect opening. Once she pulled him into debt, she could present herself as the solution. From there, she could isolate you from Tyler, manipulate Andrew's emotions, and gradually position herself as the only stable authority figure." A chilling clarity settled over me. "But why go after Tyler physically?" "To build a case against you," Grace replied. "If Tyler appeared unstable or disruptive, Melissa could claim you were a negative influence. Meanwhile, she documents Andrew's debt, his erratic behavior, and his vulnerability, painting herself as the only competent adult. It all snapped together with horrifying precision." "Grace," I asked quietly, "what do you know about the life insurance policies?" "I am still digging into those," she said. "But based on her past behavior, she will likely stage an accident for you once Tyler is taken out of your sphere of influence. Andrew will be too overwhelmed and guilt-stricken to question anything." Andrew finally lifted his head. "She told me Dad was getting forgetful, that he needed medical supervision." "What kind of supervision?" I asked. "She mentioned full-time care, maybe a residential facility where professionals could monitor him better." Grace leaned forward. "Andrew, did Melissa offer to help you choose a facility?" He nodded weakly. "She said she knew places that specialized in elder care. She said Dad would be comfortable and safe there." "Safe," Grace repeated, meaning she could regulate his medication, control who visited him, control every part of his day. "And there is more," she added. "I pulled Melissa's financial records. Over the past year and a half, she has been funneling money into offshore accounts. She fully intends to disappear after the insurance payouts come through." Tyler glanced up again. "Who's Melissa?" Andrew and I exchanged a long, heavy look. How do you explain to an 11-year-old that his stepmother is a predator? "Tyler," I said gently, "Melissa is someone who pretended to care about this family." He frowned. "I know. She is mean when Dad is not watching." Andrew's face broke. "Tyler, why did you not tell me?" "I did," Tyler murmured. "You said I was making things up." Andrew covered his eyes with one hand. "I am sorry. I am so sorry." Grace cleared her throat softly. "We need to move to immediate protective measures. Tyler cannot return to that house under any circumstances." "What about Andrew?" I asked. "Andrew must maintain his normal routine," Grace said. "If he disappears or behaves unusually, Melissa will become suspicious. But he cannot be alone with her, not overnight, and not in any private setting." Andrew nodded. "I can stay at a hotel. Tell her I'm working late." "No," Grace cut in. "That will put her on alert. You need to go home and act completely normal. Do not eat or drink anything she prepares. And you must wear this." She handed him a small, button-shaped device. Andrew turned it over in his fingers. "What is this?" "A recording device," Grace said. "You live in Arizona now. One-party consent. If Melissa implicates herself or reveals any part of her plan, we capture it." "She is not stupid," Andrew muttered. "She will not confess to anything." "You would be surprised," Grace told him. "People who believe they are winning tend to get sloppy." I reached across the table and took Andrew's hand. "Son, I know you are terrified, but Melissa has been setting this up for months, maybe years. We need to get ahead of her before she hurts anyone else." "Dad," Andrew whispered, "what if she figures out what we are doing?" "Then we deal with it," I said. "But Andrew, she already threatened Tyler's life, and she planned to kill me. We cannot afford to wait." Tyler quietly closed his coloring book. "Grandpa, are we in danger?" I knelt beside him. "Tyler, sometimes adults make terrible choices that hurt the people they should love the most. But your father and I are going to keep you safe." "Is that why I cannot go home?" "Yes." He nodded. "Good. I do not like being there anymore," Tyler said quietly. The simplicity of that sentence nearly split something open inside me. No child should feel safer anywhere else than in their own home. Grace handed Andrew a small laminated card. "If Melissa becomes suspicious, asks unusual questions, or if anything feels off, even slightly, You call me immediately. Any hour. Any day. Andrew slipped the card into his pocket. Grace, what happens if we cannot prove what she is doing? If we fail, she said, then Tyler will be removed from both households and placed in foster care while the investigation continues. Meanwhile, Melissa will still have avenues to access your father's assets through whatever legal trap she has been preparing. Andrew swallowed hard. And if we can prove it? Then she faces a series of charges: fraud, child endangerment, conspiracy, and, depending on how far her plan went, attempted murder. Tyler would stay with Tom permanently, and you would finally be able to get treatment for your gambling addiction. Andrew looked from his son back to me, shame thick in his voice. Dad, I have been such an idiot. You were manipulated by a professional, I told him. That is not the same thing. Is it not? Yes, because now you are choosing to stand up to her. Andrew bent down awkwardly, almost like he no longer remembered how to hug his own child, and pulled Tyler close. I promise I will never let anyone hurt you again. Okay, Dad, Tyler murmured. As we gathered our things, Grace pulled me aside. Tom, she said quietly, Melissa follows the same pattern. Once her victim starts resisting, she moves fast. The account freeze will absolutely feel like a threat to her. Be extremely careful over the next 24 hours. I nodded, but truthfully, my mind was already several steps ahead. Melissa's mask had finally fallen, and now we were dealing with the real woman underneath. I drove Tyler back to my house while Andrew returned to face her. The sun dipped behind the Phoenix skyline, washing everything in deep oranges and reds. It would have been beautiful if I had not been terrified about what my family was walking into. Grandpa, Tyler asked softly, is Dad going to be okay? Your father is stronger than he thinks. What about you? I am tougher than I look. Tyler gave a tiny smile. I know. Dad used to tell me stories about how you built houses with nothing but a hammer and some nails. Well, I said, those stories might be a little exaggerated. Back at home, I made Tyler dinner while keeping my phone within arm's reach. Andrew was supposed to check in every 2 hours. The first call came at 7 o'clock. Dad, he whispered, she knows? Knows what? About the account freeze. The bank notified her this afternoon. They said the joint account was frozen pending an investigation. How did she react? Too calmly. She said it must be some kind of clerical error, that she would sort it out in the morning. But, Dad, she has been staring at me all night, like she is waiting for something to happen. Are you wearing the recorder? Yes, but she has not said anything directly incriminating. Give her time. People like Melissa cannot resist bragging when they think they have already won. The second call arrived at 9:30. Dad, we have a problem, Andrew whispered. Melissa just offered to make me a drink. Do not take it. I told her I was not thirsty. She insisted. She said I looked stressed and that warm milk with honey would help me sleep. Warm milk with honey, perfect for hiding the taste of a sedative. What did you do? I told her I am lactose intolerant, so she said she would make herbal tea instead. Andrew, you need to leave that house right now. I cannot just bolt. She will know something is wrong. She already knows something is wrong. She is trying to drug you. Dad, the call cut off. I called him back, straight to voicemail. I dialed Grace immediately. Grace, his phone dropped. Melissa was trying to drug him. Where are they? The house on Willow Ridge, 892. I am calling the police. No, I said sharply. If officers show up now, Melissa will destroy evidence and claim Andrew is unstable. We need her confession on the recorder first. Tom, Grace said, if she realizes Andrew is onto her, she will accelerate her timeline, and that means she may slip up. I ended the call and made a decision no parent ever wants to make. Tyler, I said, grabbing my keys. We are going for a drive. Where? To help your dad. We drove through quiet suburban streets, Tyler small and trusting beside me, while I tried to anticipate the moves of a woman who had no conscience left. Grandpa, he whispered, are we going to see Melissa? Yes. I do not want to. You will not have to talk to her. Stay in the car, keep the doors locked, and if anything seems wrong, call 911. Okay. We parked across from Andrew's house beneath a large oak. The house was almost completely dark except for the kitchen light. Both vehicles were in the driveway, Melissa's sedan and Andrew's truck. Tyler, I said, turning to him, remember, doors locked, and if anything happens, you call for help. What is going to happen? Hopefully nothing. I walked to the front porch and rang the bell. Melissa answered almost immediately, as though she had been standing right behind the door. She wore a soft sweater, her expression warm and perfectly concerned. "Tom," she said smoothly, "what a surprise. Is everything all right? I need to talk to Andrew. He is sleeping. He had a terrible headache, so I gave him something to help him rest." "Gave him something? What exactly did you give him?" "Oh, just over-the-counter pain medicine. He has been very stressed with work lately." "Melissa, I need to see my son." She tilted her head. "Tom, you seem agitated. Why do you not come inside and sit down?" Melissa stepped back from the doorway, subtly trying to usher me inside, but I noticed immediately that she positioned herself between me and the staircase. She was guarding something, most likely Andrew. "Where exactly is my son?" I asked. "Upstairs in our bedroom," she said with a tone of manufactured concern. "But Tom, I am really worried about you. You have been making some unusual choices recently, taking Tyler without permission, disrupting our household routines." "Our household routines?" I repeated. "Yes," she said smoothly. "Andrew and I have been talking about your recent behavior, the memory issues, the confusion with your finances. We think it might be time to discuss additional support." "What kind of support?" I asked, though I already knew the direction she was steering this conversation. "Professional care," she said, her voice softening as if she were offering me a retirement vacation. "There are wonderful facilities that specialize in helping older adults manage daily decisions." She was doing it. Right in the middle of her living room, she was laying the groundwork to shove me into a nursing home so she could finish hollowing out my family. "Melissa," I said evenly, "I froze all my bank accounts today." For a moment, just a moment, her expression slipped. A crack in the mask. "Why would you do that?" "Because someone has been stealing from me." "Tom," she replied in a tone that dripped with condescension, "that kind of paranoid thinking is exactly why Andrew and I are concerned. Who would ever steal from you?" "You tell me," I said. "Tom, I think you should sit down. You are not thinking clearly." "I am thinking more clearly than I have in months." "Are you?" she asked, her voice tightening. "Because from where I stand, you look like a confused old man who has lost touch with reality. Tomorrow, when Andrew wakes up, we are going to have a very serious conversation about your care options." "Tomorrow Andrew will wake up?" I asked quietly. "Of course he will. Why would you even ask that?" "Because you drugged him." Her expression dropped into something cold and empty. "Tom, you are having paranoid delusions. Andrew took something for a headache and went to bed early. Nothing unusual about that." "Show me," I said. "Show you what?" "Show me Andrew. Prove he is just sleeping. I am not waking my husband just to indulge whatever paranoid episode you are having." "Then I will wake him myself." I took a step toward the stairs. She immediately blocked my path. "Tom, I cannot let you disturb him when he is not well." "Not well?" I repeated. "He has been dealing with depression and anxiety. The gambling losses, Tyler's behavioral issues, the stress at work," she said. "Sometimes he needs medication to help him cope." "What medication?" "Prescription medication from his doctor." "What doctor?" "Tom, I think you should leave. You are clearly having an episode." There it was, her narrative. She was building it in real time. A confused old man, unstable, breaking into their home in the middle of the night, accusing people of crimes. She wanted documentation to discredit anything I said in the future. "Melissa," I said, my voice steady, "listen very carefully. Tom, I know about Austin. I know about the elderly clients in Houston. I know about the offshore accounts." Her entire face went blank, drained of expression. "I have no idea what you are talking about," she said. "I know about Tyler's blood work," I continued, "the diphenhydramine levels, the behavioral reports you have been fabricating. Tom, you need to leave, right now. And I know about the life insurance policies." That was when she reached into her purse. "Tom, you are having a medical emergency," she said too calmly. "I am calling for help." "Whose help?" I asked. She did not dial 911. She hit a speed dial number. "It is me," she said into the phone. "We have a problem. Tom knows." She paused, listening, then ended the call. "Some friends of mine are coming over," she said. "They are going to help sort this out." "Friends?" I asked. "The same people Andrew owes money to?" She smiled, an icy, mocking smile. "Tom, You barged into my home in the middle of the night, shouting accusations. Anyone who walks in here will see an elderly man having a breakdown. When the police eventually get involved, guess whose story they will believe? The police are not coming, I said. No, she replied calmly, but the people I called understand complicated situations. They know how to solve problems quietly. I took a step back toward the door. If her associates arrived, I would not stand a chance. Melissa, I said, you made one mistake tonight. Oh, and what is that? She asked. You assumed I came here alone. Her confidence wavered. What do you mean? Look at your front window. She moved toward the window and glanced outside. Tyler sat in the passenger seat of my truck, small and pale, his cell phone pressed to his ear. You brought Tyler here? She hissed. Tom, what kind of grandfather puts a child in danger like that? The kind who taught his grandson to call 911 when adults act strangely. Her face lost all color. You are bluffing. Am I? Sirens echoed faintly in the distance, getting closer. Melissa reacted instantly, bolting toward the kitchen and the back door. But she miscalculated. Andrew staggered into view at the top of the stairs, gripping his phone, eyelids heavy but open. Dad, what is going on? He mumbled. Andrew, are you all right? I called up to him. She gave me something, he said. I feel strange. Andrew, Melissa said sweetly, shifting gears effortlessly. Come downstairs. Your father is confused. He is having some kind of breakdown. But Andrew was not looking at her. He was staring at the screen of his phone. Dad, Andrew said, staring at the small device clipped to his shirt. This thing has been recording everything. I heard what Melissa said, about you having a breakdown, about her friends coming over. Melissa froze mid-step. She had forgotten about the recorder. Andrew slowly made his way down the stairs, unsteady but awake. Melissa, what friends? What problems? Andrew, your father is confused, she said, trying to regain control of the narrative. But he was shaking his head. No, I heard you. You said people were coming to solve problems quietly. What does that mean? Outside, the sirens grew louder, close enough that the windows trembled. Melissa darted her eyes between Andrew and me, calculating, and then she ran. The back door slammed just as the first police cruiser pulled into the driveway. But she had already made the fatal mistake. Andrew's recorder had captured every word. Detective Lisa Murphy arrived around 2:30 in the morning with a team of officers and a paramedic. She was younger than I expected, mid-40s maybe, with observant eyes that made it clear nothing escaped her attention. Mr. Carter, she said, stepping inside, your grandson called 911 and reported adults acting suspiciously. I need you to tell me what happened. I handed her Grace Coleman's business card. Detective, this situation is complicated. My attorney has been documenting what appears to be a coordinated fraud and conspiracy. Where is the homeowner? She asked. My son Andrew is here, I said. His wife Melissa fled the moment she realized the police were coming. Fled? Detective Murphy repeated. Andrew appeared beside me, still woozy. The paramedic immediately stepped toward him. Sir, did you take any medication tonight? My wife gave me something for a headache, Andrew said thickly. But I think she put something else in it. Detective Murphy gestured for us to follow her into the living room. All right, start from the beginning. For the next hour, we walked her through everything. Grace's research, the forged signatures, Tyler's bruises, the diphenhydramine in his blood work, the offshore accounts, the insurance policies, Andrew's debt, the threats, and most importantly, the recording. The device had captured Melissa's entire conversation. Her claims that I was mentally unstable, her statement about friends arriving to handle things, her knowledge of my financial freeze. Every damning word was on tape. She mentioned friends, Detective Murphy said. What kind of friends are we talking about? Andrew swallowed. I answered for him. People tied to the gambling debts she encouraged him to rack up, people who threatened children. Detective Murphy turned to Andrew. How much money do you owe? $280,000, he said quietly. And the deadline? December 1st. She checked the clock on her phone. 12 days. The paramedic finished examining Andrew and shook his head. Dilated pupils, sluggish responses, classic signs of sedatives. He needs blood tests to determine the exact substance. Melissa's a certified nursing assistant, I said. She would know precisely what to give him, and how much. Detective Murphy made several quick notes. Mr. Carter, where is your grandson now? In my truck, I said. He saw too much already. Age, 11. And he's the one who called 911? Yes. I taught him to call if adults start behaving dangerously. Smart kid, she muttered. She went outside to talk to him. Meanwhile, I stayed with Andrew, who clutched his head like it hurt to even hold it upright. Dad, he whispered, I am so sorry. I cannot believe I let her manipulate me like this. Andrew, addiction makes a person vulnerable, and Melissa is a predator. She knew exactly where your weak spots were. I should have protected Tyler, he said. I should have listened to him. You are listening now, I told him. That is the beginning. Detective Murphy returned with Tyler, who looked tired but steady. God, that boy was stronger than he knew. Tyler, she said gently, can you tell me what you heard from the truck? Melissa said mean things about Grandpa, he explained. Then she called someone and told them Grandpa knew stuff. Then she said people were coming to fix problems. Did you recognize the voice on the other end of the call? No, ma'am, Tyler said. But she talked to him like she talks to Dad, like she knew him. Detective Murphy held up Melissa's cell phone, which she had abandoned in the chaos. We'll run her recent calls. If she is working with the same people your father owes money to, we can pursue conspiracy charges. Detective, I said quietly, there is more. I explained everything Grace had uncovered, Melissa's falsified CPS reports in Austin, the elderly clients in Houston who died under suspicious circumstances, the insurance payouts that followed. Detective Murphy's expression shifted from concern to grim understanding. Mr. Carter, she said, if all this checks out, Melissa is not just a manipulator, she is a career predator. Can you find her? I asked. We have officers canvassing the neighborhoods and all nearby jurisdictions are on alert. Her car is still in your driveway, so she is on foot. Before she could say more, Andrew's phone rang, an unfamiliar number flashing on the screen. Detective Murphy signaled for him to answer it. Hello, Andrew said. A man's voice boomed through the speaker, loud enough for all of us to hear. Andrew, where is Melissa? She was supposed to meet us an hour ago. I do not know where she is, Andrew stammered. You better find her, and you better have our money. December 1st is not a suggestion. I understand, Andrew whispered. Do you? The man growled. Because if Melissa's plan doesn't work out, we will make Tyler understand instead. The call ended. Detective Murphy immediately spoke into her radio. Dispatch, escalate this to the task force. We have credible threats against a minor. Repeat, credible threats against a minor. Tyler grabbed my hand tightly. Grandpa, what did that man mean? I knelt to his level. He meant there are some very angry people out there, but they will not hurt you. Not now, not ever. And in that moment, I silently vowed I would burn the world down before I let anyone touch that boy. How do you know they will not hurt me? Tyler whispered. Because Detective Murphy and I will not allow it, I told him. Detective Murphy crouched down until she was eye level with him. Tyler, you are going to stay with your grandpa for a while, all right? And we are going to have officers checking in on you regularly. He nodded. What about Dad? She looked over at Andrew, who despite the sedatives still in his system, stood straighter, determined. Your dad is going to help us catch the people who threatened you. Andrew swallowed, then said, Whatever you need from me, I will do it. First, she said, we need you medically evaluated. We want documentation of exactly what Melissa gave you. And after that? Andrew asked. Then, Detective Murphy said, you are going to help us set a trap. 3 hours later, we were at Presbyterian Hospital. Andrew's blood tests showed high levels of zolpidem, Ambien, combined with diphenhydramine, enough to drop him for 8 to 12 hours. Detective Murphy shook her head. She needed him completely unconscious. Whatever she planned required Andrew to be unable to move or respond. Like what? I asked. Think it through, she said. Andrew sedated for the entire night. You showing up to check on him? Crystal's friends coming to handle things quietly. What would tomorrow morning look like to investigators? The picture formed instantly, and it was horrific. A home invasion. A robbery gone wrong. An elderly father and his adult son killed in the chaos. Crystal standing in the driveway crying, the grieving widow and stepmother. Insurance payouts flowing in. Debts erased. I felt physically sick. Detective? I asked quietly. How close did we come? She exhaled. If Tyler had not called 911 exactly when he did, if you had arrived 10 minutes later, if Melissa's timing had lined up the way she wanted. She did not need to finish. At 6 in the morning, my phone rang. Grace. Tom, I have been following the police dispatch. Are you all right? We are alive, I said. It was all I could manage. Good. I have information about the life insurance policies. Melissa took out a policy on you 3 months ago. $800,000. My stomach twisted. How could she do that without my knowledge? She forged your signature, used her medical background to complete the health exam forms, and listed Andrew as the contact. The insurance company never reached out to you directly. And the beneficiary? I asked. Originally Andrew, but last week she filed a change form. Now the payout goes to Andrew's estate if he dies before you. I understood immediately. And if Andrew and I both died, I said, she would inherit everything as Andrew's widow and Tyler's guardian. Yes, Grace said. Tom, Tyler was never just a victim to her. He was a revenue stream. She planned to be the legal guardian of a wealthy child, one with trust funds and insurance payouts she could control. Grace, Melissa may be gone, but her partner just threatened Tyler directly. Tom, this is no longer a local investigation. I am contacting the FBI. The FBI? I repeated. Interstate insurance fraud, financial crimes, conspiracy to commit murder, threats against a minor. This is federal territory. When I ended the call, Tyler stirred in the chair beside me. Grandpa, is it over? Not yet, buddy, I said, brushing his hair back. But we are winning. Even as I said it, I knew Melissa, cornered and desperate, would be far more dangerous than before. Tuesday morning, FBI Special Agent Sarah Hendricks arrived at Presbyterian. She had the calm, unshakable demeanor of someone who had walked through complicated fraud cases more times than she could count. Mr. Carter, she said, Detective Murphy briefed us. We are taking this very seriously. My priority is Tyler, I told her, as it should be. We already assigned protective surveillance, but we need Melissa to make contact with her associates. That is how we will identify and arrest them. How do we make that happen? I asked. We use Andrew as bait. Andrew had been released after the sedatives wore off. He looked pale but resolute. Tell me what to do. Agent Hendricks opened her laptop. Her associates called you last night demanding a meeting. We want you to call them back and agree to meet. What if they try to hurt me? He asked. They will not, she said. Not yet. They need you alive until December 1st. You are the only person who can get them their money. Then she laid out the operation. Andrew would wear a wire. FBI agents would be positioned around the meeting point. They needed the men to admit their threats, their financial ties to Melissa, and their knowledge of her plan. Agent Hendricks, I said, what about Melissa herself? Has anyone found her? We are tracking her through financial activity. She used 2 different credit cards early this morning, both at ATMs near Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. So she is trying to run. Or, Hendricks said, looking directly at me, she is preparing something else. Mr. Carter, people like Melissa do not usually run until they have secured their payoff. I felt my heart thud in my chest. You think she is still planning to kill me? Based on everything we know, she said evenly, yes. I think that is exactly what she intends to do. I think she is desperate, Agent Hendricks said, and desperate people take risks they normally would not. Right then, Grace walked in carrying a folder, thick with legal documents. Tom, I secured a temporary injunction freezing every insurance policy that lists Melissa as a beneficiary. She cannot receive a single dollar, even if... She hesitated. Even if she succeeds in killing me, I finished. Grace nodded. Yes, but there is something else we need to discuss. I found another policy, one taken out on Tyler. My entire body went cold. How much? $500,000, she said quietly. Melissa is listed as his guardian and the sole beneficiary. Tyler looked up from the coloring book he had been working on. What's a beneficiary? Andrew answered softly, his voice tight with shame. It's the person who gets money if something bad happens. Why would Melissa get money if something bad happened to me? Tyler asked. No child should have to form that sentence. Before I could respond, Agent Hendricks checked her watch. Andrew, are you ready to make the call? Right now? He asked, anxiety creeping into his voice. The longer we wait, she said, the more time Melissa has to set something in motion we cannot predict. Andrew nodded, swallowed hard, and dialed the number from the night before. It rang 3 times before a gravelly voice answered. "Yeah? This is Andrew Carter. You called about Melissa." "About damn time," the man snapped. "Where is she?" "I don't know. She left after my dad came over last night." "The old man she told us about," the voice said. "The one causing trouble?" "Yeah." The man exhaled sharply. "Andrew, listen close. Melissa promised you would have our money by December 1st. She said she had a plan to get it from your father." "What kind of plan?" Andrew asked. "That's between her and us. But if her plan doesn't work, we move to plan B." "What's plan B?" Andrew pushed. "We collect our money from your kid instead." Andrew stiffened, but Agent Hendricks motioned for him to keep going. "How would you get money from Tyler?" he asked. "Accidents happen, Andrew," the man said casually. "Especially to kids whose dads owe the wrong people money." Melissa explained it all, how insurance works, how these things look. "She explained accidents?" Andrew asked, horrified. "Oh, Melissa's got experience with accidents," the man said. "Old folks, kids, doesn't matter. She knows how to make it look real." Agent Hendricks' eyes widened. This was more than she had hoped for. She signaled for Andrew to continue. "When are you meeting Melissa again?" he asked. "Tonight," the man said. "She's finalizing a few things. After that, we finish this whole mess." "What final things?" "Ask Melissa. But, Andrew, if you want your kid to see his 12th birthday, you'd better pray her plan works." The line disconnected. Agent Hendricks immediately keyed her radio. "Control, elevate to full alert. I need surveillance on every airport, bus station, and rental car location. Suspect is making final arrangements for an unknown operation. Repeat. All agencies eyes open." She turned back to me. "Mr. Carter," she said, "Melissa is not fleeing. She is setting up one last try at securing that insurance payout." "How?" I asked. "I do not know," she admitted. "But her associates openly admitted they will kill Tyler if her plan fails." Tyler looked up again, small and frightened. "Grandpa, are the bad people coming back?" "Not if I can help it," I said. But inside, gears were already turning. I knew Melissa's mindset. She needed me alone, vulnerable, reachable, and she needed it soon. I was going to give her exactly what she wanted. Agent Hendricks hated the idea. "No, absolutely not," she said flatly. "We are not using a 71-year-old man as bait." "I am not volunteering as bait. I am protecting my grandson," I said. "Those people threatened to kill him." We were back in Grace's conference room, hashing out strategies. Tyler had finally fallen asleep in the adjoining office, curled on the couch under one of Grace's spare blankets. "Tom," Grace said carefully, "what you're suggesting is extraordinarily dangerous." "What Melissa is planning is far more dangerous," I said. "At least with my approach, we control the environment." My idea was simple: return to my own home alone, make myself visible and vulnerable, wait for Melissa to strike, let the FBI record every second. "Mr. Carter," Hendricks insisted, "real killers do not confess their plans to their targets." "Melissa is not a real killer," I said. "She is a manipulator. She needs her victims to believe she is smarter than them. She wants the last word." Andrew nodded. "She did that to me for years. She needs to explain how clever she is. She won't be able to resist." Agent Hendricks rubbed her forehead, clearly torn between professional caution and the urgency of the situation. At this point, Melissa had vanished off every system. No credit cards, no phone pings, no known associates reachable. We were losing time. Finally, Agent Hendricks said, "If we do this, and I'm not saying we should, you will wear a wire, you will answer every check-in, and you will follow my instructions exactly." "Agreed," I said. "And if anything feels off, anything, you abort the mission immediately." "Agent Hendricks," I said quietly, "every part of this situation feels wrong, but this is the only path that ends it." She exhaled hard. "All right, let's plan it." That evening, I drove back to my house on Willow Ridge Road. FBI teams were already positioned throughout the neighborhood. Parked cars, joggers who were not really jogging, a delivery van that had been on the same street all afternoon. Nathan and Tyler stayed at Grace's office under armed protection. My job was simple: follow my normal routine and look predictable. So I did exactly that. Dinner, the evening news, washing dishes, turning off lights in a casual pattern, And then I left the front door unlocked and made sure the curtains were pulled just enough for Melissa to see me moving around inside. At 9:47 p.m., she knocked. When I opened the door, she stood there breathing hard, looking more disheveled than I had ever seen her. The polished mask she always wore, professional, controlled, calm, was gone. What replaced it was pure, sharp desperation. "Tom," she said, "we need to talk." "Of course," I replied. "Come in." She entered slowly, scanning every corner of the house as though expecting someone to pop out. Only when she was certain I was alone did she settle into the living room across from me. "Tom," she began, switching to her therapeutic voice, "last night was a misunderstanding. I panicked when you came in making accusations." "What accusations are you referring to?" I asked. "That I stole from you, that I hurt Tyler. Tom, I would never do anything to harm that child." "Tyler has bruises," I said evenly. "Children bruise easily," she countered. "And Tom, you really need to understand, Tyler has been acting out because he's confused about the family dynamics." "Confused?" I asked. "How so?" She folded her hands neatly in her lap. "You've been behaving erratically. Nathan and I have talked extensively about your memory issues, your paranoia about finances, and your tendency to undermine our parenting decisions." "What decisions have I undermined?" "Taking Tyler without permission, filling his head with ideas about abuse. These are signs of cognitive decline, Tom." Even here, perhaps minutes away from arrest, she was still building her false narrative, preparing her defense, crafting her version of events. "Melissa," I said, lowering my voice, "I know about the insurance policies." Her expression flickered. "What insurance policies?" "The $800,000 policy you took out on me, and the $500,000 policy on Tyler." "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, her voice tightening. "I know about Austin," I continued. "The falsified CPS reports." "Tom, you're having paranoid delusions." "I know about the elderly clients in Houston." "Tom," she said softly, "please let me help you." She reached into her purse and pulled out a small amber prescription bottle. "What is that?" I asked. "Your blood pressure medication," she said calmly. "You forgot to take it tonight. At your age, missing your dose can cause confusion, agitation, even hallucinations." I glanced at the label, my name, my doctor, my prescription number, and yet the pills inside were not mine. "Melissa," I said, "those are not my pills." "Yes, they are," she insisted. "See your name on the label? Tom, you need to take 3 of these immediately. Your blood pressure is dangerously high." "How do you know my blood pressure is high?" "I can see it in your face," she said confidently. "The flushed skin, the agitation. If you don't take this medication, you could have a stroke. And if I do take it, you'll feel calmer, more relaxed." "And what comes after that?" I asked. She hesitated only a second. "You'll sleep peacefully. And tomorrow morning, Nathan and I will help you transition into a full-time care facility. Somewhere safe." "Safe," I repeated. "Somewhere I won't freeze my bank accounts?" "Yes," she said bluntly. "You've proven you cannot be trusted with financial decisions." "And Tyler?" I asked. "Tyler will be fine," she said. "Nathan and I will take excellent care of him." "With the insurance money?" I asked. Her entire expression hardened, but her tone stayed deceptively steady. "What insurance money?" "The money you collect when Tyler has his accident." "Tom, you're not making sense." "Your associates explained it to Nathan this morning," I said. "Insurance is insurance." Melissa went perfectly still, dead still, like someone deciding whether to fight or flee. "What associates?" she asked. "The people you introduced Nathan to," I said. "The men who are coming here tonight to make sure your plan succeeds." "No one is coming here tonight," she snapped. "Then why?" I asked, nodding toward her phone. "Do you keep checking for their messages?" She glanced down involuntarily. "Tom," she said, her voice turning icy, "you need to take your medication, right now." "Why?" I asked. "Because if you don't, things are going to become very unpleasant for Tyler." "How unpleasant?" "Children have accidents," she whispered, "especially children whose grandfathers don't cooperate with reasonable treatment plans." There it was, the direct threat. No more disguises, no more euphemisms. "Melissa," I said, "are you threatening to hurt my grandson?" "I'm explaining reality. Take the pills, Tom. And if I refuse, then my friends will convince you. They should be here any minute." Your friends? I echoed. The same ones who threatened to kill Tyler? They understand that sometimes elderly patients resist proper care, she said, and they know exactly how to persuade stubborn patients to make better choices. By hurting Tyler? I asked. By doing whatever is necessary. Melissa, Tyler is not here. She blinked. What do you mean he's not here? He's safe, I said. With Nathan, and with FBI protection. Her face drained of color. The FBI? Agent Hendricks will be very interested in the threats you just made. Her eyes darted to my collar. You're wearing a wire. Yes, I said. She reached into her purse again, but this time it was not for pills. She pulled out a gun. Turn it off, she said. I can't do that. Turn it off, she repeated, raising the weapon. Tom, Melissa said, pressing the gun harder against the side of my head. Turn off the recording device, or I will kill you right here. Melissa, I said calmly, shooting me will not solve anything for you. She laughed bitterly. The FBI already knows about the insurance policies, the offshore accounts, everything. Then you understand, I said, that killing me accomplishes nothing. Her eyes hardened. It means I have nothing left to lose. That was the truth, and it made her 10 times more dangerous. What exactly did you tell your associates about tonight? I asked. I told them you would be ready to cooperate. And if I am not, then they will make Tyler cooperate instead. Melissa, I said carefully, Tyler is under FBI protection. You think that matters? She snapped. Tom, you have absolutely no idea what these people are capable of. Right then, car doors slammed outside. 2, maybe 3. Her backup had arrived. Agent Hendricks' voice buzzed in my earpiece. Tom, we've got 2 armed men approaching the house. We're moving in. Melissa heard the transmission. She grabbed my collar, pressed the muzzle harder into my temple, and hissed, Turn it off! Now! I can't, I said. Then we do this the hard way. The front door swung open without hesitation. 2 men stepped inside, big, hard-looking men who had seen violence and caused plenty of it. Both were armed. One wore a Texas Rangers baseball cap. The other had the tense posture of someone paid to make problems disappear. Melissa, the man in the cap said, What's going on? He's wearing a wire, she said. The FBI is listening. Cap stepped to the window, checked both sides of the street. How many agents? I don't know, she snapped, but they know everything. Then we speed things up, he said flatly. He turned toward me. Mr. Carter, you're going to call your grandson. I can't reach him right now, I said. Make him reachable. I said I can't. He nodded at his partner, who pulled out his own phone. Then we call Child Protective Services. We tell them there's been a domestic violence incident involving an elderly man with dementia who attacked his caregiver. CPS won't give you Tyler, I said. They'll give him to Melissa, the man replied. She's family, she's got medical credentials, and she'll have documentation that you are spiraling into a psychiatric crisis. Melissa already had papers in her lap, forms, forged signatures, fabricated medical reports. I've got commitment paperwork, she said coldly. Notes about your cognitive decline, statements about your paranoid episodes. Statements from who? I demanded. From Nathan, she said. He'll confirm you've been acting erratically. Nathan will never do that. He will do exactly what I say, she replied. He owes us $280,000, and you involving federal agents only made things worse. Agent Hendricks' voice whispered in my ear. Tom, keep them talking. We're in final position. Melissa heard the faint transmission. Her face twisted and she ripped the earpiece off me. No more games. Cap stepped closer, taking charge. Here's what's going to happen, he said. You're going to have a medical emergency, heart attack, stroke, something that requires immediate hospitalization. Melissa will call 911, tell them you were confused and aggressive before you collapsed. And then what? I asked. Then Melissa becomes Tyler's guardian while Nathan straightens out his financial situation. Simple. Except Tyler, I said. Tyler won't be safe. Kids bounce back, Cap replied. He'll be fine. Melissa reached into her purse and pulled out a syringe, already primed. Tom, she said, this will mimic cardiac arrest. You'll be unconscious but stable. When you wake up, you'll be under psychiatric evaluation. For how long? I asked quietly. As long as necessary for the insurance policies to pay out, she said. I stared at the syringe. Insurance doesn't pay out for psychiatric patients. It does, she said softly. When the patient dies from complications of their condition. My stomach dropped. She was planning to kill me in the hospital, quietly, clinically, paperwork ready, story rehearsed. And Nathan, I asked. Nathan will be devastated by your death, she said. People sometimes don't survive overwhelming grief. You're planning to kill both of us, I said. I am planning to solve multiple problems at once. Cap checked his watch. Melissa, we need to move. Every minute increases the risk. Melissa lifted the syringe. Tom, I want you to understand this isn't personal. You seem like a decent grandfather, but you have assets my family needs, and older people sometimes don't understand complicated financial matters. Melissa, I said steadily, wait. For what? There's something I want to show you. I reached slowly into my shirt pocket while both men raised their guns. What is that? She demanded. I held up a small black device, the one I had taken from my dresser earlier. Tyler's emergency phone, I said, the one I gave him months ago. So, she sneered, it's been recording everything since you walked through that door. Melissa's face drained completely of color, and every agent outside was listening. Tom, that's impossible, Melissa whispered, her voice thinning with panic. It is not impossible, I said. Tyler has been recording the way you've treated him for months with this device. And tonight, when the FBI realized you were headed here, he activated it remotely. I pressed the button, and Tyler's small, steady voice filled the room through the speaker. Grandpa, I can hear everything. Melissa's eyes widened, the color draining completely from her face. And the FBI heard everything too, I said. This is the end of the line, Melissa. You are not hurting anyone else. The man in the ranger's cap spun toward the front windows, just as they shattered inward under the force of the FBI's entry team. Flashlights cut through the living room, agents shouting commands, weapons raised. Melissa dropped the syringe, and both of her associates froze where they stood. Tyler's recording had finally given us the last piece of proof we needed. 6 months later, Tyler and I were sitting in the courthouse cafeteria, eating cookies from a vending machine, while Andrew testified against Melissa's crew in a separate hearing. Grandpa, Tyler asked quietly, do you think Melissa is sorry? I shook my head. I think Melissa is sorry she got caught. That is different. Melissa had accepted a plea deal, conspiracy, fraud, and attempted murder, 25 years. Her associates received similar sentences for racketeering and threatening a child. Andrew, for his part, had been sentenced to probation and mandatory addiction counseling. It was not an excuse for what he allowed, but it was a starting point. What about Dad? Tyler asked. Your dad is doing the hard work of becoming the parent you deserve, I said. A moment later, Andrew stepped out of the courtroom. He looked exhausted, older, but clearer than I had seen him in years. 6 months clean, 6 months rebuilding his life brick by brick. How did it go? I asked. The prosecutor said the conviction should hold through appeal, Andrew said. Those recordings, they made everything undeniable. And the gambling debts? I asked. Paid off, he said. All of it. Covered with the funds Melissa siphoned from your accounts. The court ordered full restitution. Good, I said. Tyler looked up from his math worksheet. Dad, are you coming to my game on Saturday? Andrew turned to me. If your grandfather approves. It is fine with me, I said. But Tyler has conditions. Tyler had learned to speak up for himself, firmly, respectfully, and without apology. He had created his own set of safety rules. What conditions? Andrew asked. Tyler folded his arms. First, you have to believe me when I tell you something important. Andrew nodded. I promise. And second, you cannot make decisions about me without asking me first. I promise that too. And you have to keep going to counseling, Tyler added, even when it's not fun. Andrew pulled him into a careful hug. I'll keep every one of those promises. It was awkward, but it was real. Andrew was slowly becoming Tyler's father again, no longer Melissa's puppet. Grandpa? Tyler asked. What happens now? Now, I said, we build the family we should have had from the beginning. I had already restructured every part of my estate. Tyler's future was protected. Andrew had financial guardrails built into his inheritance. Ann Brennan Construction now funded a new foundation supporting abused children across the state. Tyler had been named its youngest spokesperson. He wanted to make sure no child was ignored the way he had been. Tyler, I said, do you remember what I told you about chess? He nodded. Sometimes the smallest piece saves the king. That's right. You saved all of us. He smiled softly. You saved me first, Grandpa? No, I said, squeezing his shoulder. We saved each other. Outside the courthouse, traffic rolled by just as it always had. Families rushed to practices, dinner plans, school events, oblivious to how easily trust can fracture, or how quickly love can turn into a weapon in the wrong hands. Some of us learn those lessons the hard way, but we also learn what family truly means, showing up when someone calls for help, even if that call comes at 11:30 at night, spoken through fear and tears. Tyler slipped his hand into mine as we walked toward the parking lot. Grandpa, he said, can we go home now? Yes, son, I said. We can go home. And we did.